Right now at 10, the man accused of plotting to poison women in Dane and Rock counties appears in court. We'll hear the emotional statement from one of his victims.
And the Department of Public Instruction releases its general aid estimates, what it could mean for the Madison School District's budget.
Plus, a budget deal is struck. The compromise is made between state Republicans and Governor Tony Evers. That is all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sarah Carlson.
And I'm Eric Franke. It is set to be a clear and quiet night, but chances for showers return tomorrow.
That's right. Meteorologist Blaze Keller is on the weather patio with what we can expect. Hi, Blaze.
Hello. Yes, we are anticipating that chance for showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday to return, but it is going to be a quiet night. Low to mid 60s, so right around where we should be for this time of year. Clear to mostly clear conditions. And as we look ahead to Wednesday, we do have that marginal risk for severe weather. What does marginal mean? An isolated chance for a severe thunderstorm or two, pretty much across all of not only our area, but Wisconsin. This will likely be changed up just a little bit tomorrow, but we're continuing to see most of that rain activity hold off until the early to mid-afternoon to start, as a line of showers and thunderstorms moves out of northern Wisconsin and continues to travel there off towards the southeast. It continues to look as though most of that rain is going to stay off into Lake Michigan, or at the very least the Lake Michigan shoreline. But as we jump future track ahead to about 7 o'clock with concerts on the square again tomorrow, we are maybe going to dodge a shower or two, but the good news is it moves off very quickly, or we dry out very quickly. So I don't think that concerts on the square will be impacted by that shower or storm chance on Wednesday. But we are continuing to track the rain chance into your 4th of July. We'll time that out in using Future Track in just a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Blaze. The man accused in a plot to poison women in both Dane and Rock counties received his bond in Rock County today.
Paul Van Dyne received a $37.5 million bond for 3 counts of attempted first-degree homicide, aggravated battery, recklessly endangering safety, and stalking.
Our Ellie LaLiberte has the details from his initial appearance.
Tuesday, we heard emotional statements from the victim of this alleged poison plot and her mother, 26-year-old Amanda Bade, willingly identifying herself to the court.
I can't tell you that I'm terrified of this man, because I'm not. I refuse to live in fear of anybody, but I am in danger.
The nursing student speaking to the court about a man she says she knew but was never in a relationship with.
Paul has been playing professional assassin with undetectable weaponry against us all year.
According to court records, Van Dyne and his girlfriend, Andrea Whitaker, allegedly tried 3 different times to kill Bade.
I did not stand a chance.
The criminal complaint claims the pair broke into her car to poison her with cyanide, thallium, hydrogen sulfide, and Abrin.
He meticulously planted death all around me.
Bade's mother also speaking to the court about the suffering the alleged crime has caused her family.
I watched Amanda quickly deteriorate from the repeated lethal poisonings, including 6 hours of daily dialysis.
Van Dyne's bond set at $37.5 million. That's compared to the $25 million prosecutors asked for.
Candidly, I don't see any alternative but for a substantial cash bond.
But Van Dyne's defense says it's excessive, given the $10 million bond in Dane County.
That's not been posted. It's not been posted because Mr. Van Dyne doesn't have it and doesn't have access to it.
But Bade says the evidence speaks for itself.
Paul chose day and night for months on end to erase my future.
Reporting at the Rock County Courthouse, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Ellie. Van Dyne's girlfriend, alleged accomplice Andrea Whitaker, will be in Dane County Court tomorrow for a preliminary hearing.
A woman is facing attempted homicide charges after Stoughton police were called to a domestic disturbance. This morning, officers were called to a home on South Page Street where they say they found a 34-year-old woman armed. She was arrested without incident. Police say that a man suffered substantial injuries and was taken to a hospital for treatment. The woman was booked into the Dane County Jail on first-degree attempted homicide charges. A Madison man ran into Lake Monona trying to evade police after allegedly stealing a bike. Saturday afternoon, a 911 caller told Madison police their bicycle was stolen from an underground parking ramp. Officers then found Brandon Reuter in Olbrich Park with that bike. Police say he pedaled away and ultimately abandoned the bicycle and then running into Lake Monona. A short time later, Reuter was taken into custody. He has been charged with receiving or concealing stolen property, resisting or obstructing an officer, and misdemeanor theft.
The Madison School District will receive millions of dollars less than last year from the state's general aid allocations.
That is according to estimates released today by the Department of Public Instruction. Our Maddie Heimsch breaks down how that decrease in state funds will make its way into the classroom.
Last year, the Madison Metropolitan School District received $61 million in general aid from the state of Wisconsin. This year, they're expected to get just $49 million. That's about a 20% decrease in the main source of aid the state gives our schools. But while it may sound catastrophic on paper, MMSD leaders say they're not worried.
We knew our aid was going to be decreased, right? So we accounted for it already.
Bob Soldner with MMSD's Financial Services says Madison schools don't rely too heavily on that general aid.
We're a district that's reliant 90% on the property tax.
But some do. And while 135 districts are receiving more money than last year based on the estimate, 277 of them are getting less. Those amounts are determined by property values, enrollment numbers, overall costs, and other factors.
How many kids are coming in and out of the district? How many kids have specific needs? It can also be impacted by whether or not you've had a recent referenda.
And can be spent at the discretion of the district.
It's for teacher salaries. It's for new curriculum. It's for facility maintenance. It's really for any school costs.
But whether or not districts make out better than the year before, educators say it's all a stretch because it's coming from a state budget that doesn't meet the demands of public education.
It's a good step, but it's still a far cry from what the legislature needs to provide.
There's going to be more referenda, more belt tightening, and more widening of the existing gaps across our districts.
DPI will officially certify the aid amounts in October.
Maddie, thank you. Nurses at a clinic in Janesville are set to go on strike tomorrow. This after nurses in the Madison area took similar action earlier this year. The strike will begin at 7 a.m. outside the Mercy East Clinic. Speaking on the phone, UAW Local 95's president says the nurses who voted on authorizing the strike are looking for wage increases that keep up with the continued rise of inflation.
Everything has gone up. I don't have to tell you, and everybody can see it. You go to the grocery store, you go everywhere.
Mercy Health's vice president says in a statement, quote, "We have always treated our 137 partners at Mercy Health East in a fair and equitable manner, consistent with our other 8,000 plus employee partners. Unfortunately, the union has rejected our offer. The healthcare provider did not provide the specifics of their latest offer."
Job openings in the U.S. are up for the second time in as many months. The nation's labor market had nearly 7.8 million open positions in May. This is according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Officials say that is a high not seen in half a year. Some economists had forecast a decrease in available jobs in May based on Trump administration tariff policies and geopolitical tensions. And the U.S. dollar is suffering its worst yearly start in over 50 years. Economists say the U.S. currency has weakened more than 10% over the past 6 months, and that's in comparison to monies from other top trading partners. That's a low not seen since 1973, when the Nixon administration stopped linking the dollar to the price of gold. Analysts say several factors are to blame, including President Trump's tariff policies and increased government debt.
State legislative Republicans struck a deal with Governor Tony Evers on the 2025-27 biennial budget.
The legislature says this budget will deliver tax cuts that save taxpayers nearly $1.5 billion. Arman Rahman breaks down the key points that affect you the most.
They say the sign of a good compromise is when no one leaves happy. But child care providers tell me they left the Joint Finance Committee today feeling somewhat relieved.
I get to tell my parents that I will not be raising tuition this year.
Heather Murray at Art House Preschool in Wanakee wasn't alone when staring at the bottom of the child care account's barrel of funding, which ended Monday.
A lot of my colleagues were closing their doors because there was no money that was following child care accounts.
But across the state, they're going from $0 to $330 million. How much Republicans and Governor Tony Evers called for in total for child care.
I would say, at least for the next year, they're going to have their doors open. We still have a lot of things things to fix, but it's wonderful to get that kind of support.
But as some pointed out, the governor similarly used pandemic-era funds to stretch the dollar for childcare last year.
All that's happening here is we're kicking the can down the road on massive childcare closures a year from now when the money runs out.
Both Evers and Republican lawmakers agreed on the largest increase for the Universities of Wisconsin system in nearly 20 years. Over $256 million over the next 2 years for operations and over $840 million to support capital building projects, including the old Science Hall and Humanities Building at UW-Madison.
Certainly not as much as the UW system and the governor were asking for, which is a good thing. The Republicans on this committee and across the legislature want to have a lean and competitive UW system.
But too lean in some other parts of the budget, according to Democrats on the committee, like the Republican-praised $1.5 billion tax cut.
Amount to a couple of dollars per pay period for an average middle-class family. That's going to be totally wiped out by the property tax increases.
Reporting in the state capitol, Armand Rahman, News 3 Now.
Armand, thank you. Both the Senate and Assembly will discuss and vote on the budget tomorrow. They're expected to send it to the governor's desk as is, and then he can pass it or veto items to send back to both houses.
After the break at 10, President Trump visits a new controversial migrant detention center in Florida.
And the Senate passes its version of the Trump administration's budget bill. Why the legislation may not make it out of the House. Stay with us.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
President Trump traveled to Florida today to inspect the site of a controversial new migrant detention center.
It's been dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, and the remote facility will be reconfigured at a cost of $450 million. It's raising alarms with immigration advocates over due process concerns and drawing protests for its impact on the Everglades. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis fast-tracked approvals to get the facility going in a matter of days, while a lawsuit alleges the government skipped the environmental review process.
First of all, we've asked the judge to stop construction before people get transferred to the site. So the construction has happened very quickly, as everybody knows, in a matter of days, but it can also be stopped.
Governor DeSantis said the facility will soon be ready to hold 3,000 detainees. A little more than 6 months into his second term, President Trump appears to be on the verge of his biggest legislative win.
The Senate approved its version of his budget bill today, but its ultimate passage is still far from secure. Erica Brown has details from Capitol Hill.
The Senate narrowly passed the president's One Big Beautiful bill on Tuesday. The votes were tied at 50-50, forcing Vice President J.D. Vance to cast the tiebreaker.
The vice president votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed. 3
Republican senators voted with Democrats against the spending bill. Rand Paul from Kentucky, Tom Tillis from North Carolina, and Susan Collins from Maine. Lisa Murkowski from Alaska was undecided, but switched to a yes vote Tuesday morning. Following the vote, Murkowski acknowledged her reservations about the measure, despite her vote to support it.
Do I like this bill? No, because I tried to take care of Alaska's interests. But I know that in many parts of the country, there are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill.
Some Senate Republicans say the bill will be good for Americans.
The border is the most aggressive border security package in the history of the country.
The Democrats call the legislation a betrayal.
When people start losing their Medicaid, when kids and parents lose SNAP funding, the people of America will remember this vote.
The fight over the budget bill now moves back to the House, where the changes that were made on the Senate side could threaten its ultimate passage. House Speaker Mike Johnson acknowledged the new Senate version of the bill could face challenges getting support from House Republicans.
I encouraged them to amend it as lightly as possible. They went a little further than many of us would have preferred. And my responsibility is to get that bill over the line.
Johnson said he wants a final vote on the bill as soon as Wednesday. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now, the president has said for weeks that he would like to see the budget bill passed by the 4th of July. He is expected to spend the next day lobbying House members to pass the bill.
Well, the seasonable temperatures will leave us soon. A warm-up is on the way.
That's right. Meteorologist Blaise Keller joins us with how hot it will be and what the chances are for showers.
That's right. We're going to turn back on the heat and humidity as we get closer to the 4th of July, and that's going to stick with us through at least Saturday of your 4th of July weekend, but not before a quiet night and a quiet Wednesday for the most part. But we can't rule out an afternoon shower or thunderstorm, and we're going to keep that kind of near daily rain chance, especially into the evening and overnight through at least Saturday of your upcoming weekend. So we already talked about the rain chance on Wednesday, likely going to be there from about the early to mid-afternoon hours to start, and then that continues to push south and east throughout the rest of the evening. Let's jump ahead to Thursday. So again, we're going to eye another chance for showers and thunderstorms, this time a little bit more widespread and probably more towards the southwest than the northeast, where most of our rain is going to be tomorrow. And then that rain chance continues overnight into the start of your 4th of July. Winds will continue to turn out of the southwest. That's going to warm us back up into those upper 80s to the low 90s, especially if we can clear out that cloud cover by the early afternoon at the latest. So if we start to do that sooner rather than later, it is going to be a hot and humid 4th of July. But these winds continue to really keep us warm, and then they start to bring in that cloud cover as we go into about the 10, 11, midnight time frame going into Saturday. So up until this point, we've been pretty dry other than the morning rain, and that's what our models continue to really focus in on. During this time frame, we're staying dry. So I think it's safe to say that we'll likely be dry as we go into the evening hours on the 4th of July for the fireworks shows. An isolated, emphasis on isolated shower or thunderstorm can't be ruled out, and that would likely be further to the west, as that's where most of our moisture is, and then that rain is going to move its way more into Wisconsin as we go into Saturday, further Saturday night into Sunday. So we'll start out in the low 70s on your 4th of July. Again, a few morning showers and thunderstorms can't be ruled out. We're drying out, and if we clear out the cloud cover by about noon or a little bit there sooner, we're into those low to mid 80s, topping out right around 90 degrees, and then we'll hang out in those upper 70s to low 80s as we begin our fireworks. And we're looking at rain chances to stick around through at least Sunday of this upcoming weekend, possibly lingering into the start of our next work week when we'll be a little bit cooler, but that is still ways away, so we're going to continue to look at those rain chances. But for now, all of our focus is, of course, on the 4th of July. The severe thunderstorm chance tomorrow really doesn't look too impressive. It would mainly just be strong winds and hail. And again, it's going to be very isolated, so not everyone is going to see them. On Wednesday, we'll start out in the upper 60s. We'll end somewhere right around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in those mid to upper 80s. There's a look at your 10-day forecast. Low 80s starting Sunday through that following work week, with a couple more rain chances Monday, Tuesday, and then that following Thursday. But the rain chances really have backed off, I would say, and so that is some good news. Again, it's just that time of year where late afternoon, early evening, a shower or two, and then we dry out.
Exactly. Love those overnight lows, too.
Yeah, my tomato plant doesn't. It's starting to wilt a little bit.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
So fireworks this week at the Duck Pond. A busy week begins at Warner Park.
Yeah, the Badger women's hockey team was there with some hardware. Why they were celebrating at Warner Park and how that first pitch went. That's next on News 3 Now. The Celebration Summer Tour continued for the Wisconsin women's hockey team. The Badgers were out at the Duck Pond showing off their latest national championship trophy, and Kelly Gorbatenko just a bit outside on that first pitch. As far as the game goes, well, the Nightmares were hosting the Habaneros, and the second inning was a good one for the home team. Ava Carroll at the dish with 2 aboard, and she smacks one right back up the middle. That caps off a 3-run inning. Bears go on to get the win, 4-2 the final. Well, the Brewers got another day off thanks to Mother Nature. Their series opener against the Mets was rained out, so they'll play a day-night doubleheader tomorrow in the Big Apple. First pitch for Game 1 is set for 12:10. Dame time is officially over in Milwaukee. After 2 seasons with the Bucks, the franchise has decided to waive Damian Lillard and stretch the remaining $113 million of his contract over the next 5 seasons, where they'll pay him $22.5 million per year. That move was made so they could bring in Miles Turner to the tune of a 4-year, $107 million deal. Turner spent the last 10 years as a Pacer. He averaged nearly 16 points and 7 rebounds last season, while shooting a career-best 39.6% from three-point range. After 7 years with the Bucks, Pat Connaughton is on the move. The team traded him to the Hornets along with 2 future second-round picks. Connaughton, though, was a fan favorite during his time in Milwaukee, competing in the Slam Dunk Contest in 2020 and the AmFam Championship Celebrity Foursome. With him gone, that leaves just Giannis and Bobby Portis for Milwaukee's NBA championship team. Well, Greg Gard has added another piece to his roster for the upcoming season. After a junior year where he posted 9 points and nearly 4 rebounds per game at Temple, Elijah Gray is now a Badger. Why UW? Well, Gray said, quote, "There is a culture of greatness here at Wisconsin, and I'm excited to be part of that." And on the mat, the Wisconsin wrestling team has announced their non-conference opponents. NDSU, Arizona State, Utah Valley, and Lock Haven are all coming to the Fieldhouse this season. Their big road duel will be a trip to Cedar Falls to take on Northern Iowa, but the big non-conference tilt is when the Badgers head to Stoughton High School to take on Bucknell. And that's it for sports. Blaze is back with one last look at your forecast after the break.
Tonight with Stephen Colbert.
The Late Show. That's entertainment. CBS Weeknights.
July is National Pickle Month, and to celebrate, drive-in fast food chain Sonic is rolling out a limited edition pickle-inspired menu. The new items will be available at locations nationwide, including Sun Prairie, throughout July.
Okay, ew, was that a pickle shake? They're teaming up with Grillo's for the new pickle-flavored items. The special menu includes a new burger. Oh, yes, that was a slush. Okay. I'm gonna gag. Tater tots and fries. I love pickles, but a slush?
Don't knock it until you try it.
That's disgusting. Okay, they're dubbing it. If you get all that, it's called the Big Dill Meal.
Oh.
I love pickle, but
I know some people who like drink the pickle juice.
It cures dehydration, right?
No.
NFL guys do that. When they go to hot climates.
So the pickle slush might be good. I'm not one of those people.
But is it
We got some heat coming this weekend.
I'm not going to drink pickle juice. You guys can. I'll stick to water. But yes, heat and humidity is returning. It starts tomorrow, mid to upper 80s. A few showers and thunderstorms can't be ruled out in the late afternoon. Some of those could be severe, but it looks like it's going to be more of a Lake Michigan problem than here across central and southern Wisconsin. But of course, we'll keep you updated. Rain maybe starting Friday in the morning.
All right.
We have to give a shout out to our favorite
Curtis Johnson,
Curtis
final
Johnson.
night doing the 10. There he is.
Thank you, our
Miss you,
friend.
buddy.
We'll miss you. Thanks for watching.